Benny hiccuped. A lot. Like all the time. He hiccuped at breakfast, sending cereal flying. He hiccuped at school, making his classmates giggle. Benny even hiccuped in his sleep. It was a real pain in the diaphragm. One sunny afternoon, Benny was strolling through the village square, hiccuping up a storm. "Hic! Excuse me," he'd mumble, blushing bright red as people gave him sideways glances. Suddenly, a wild hiccup propelled Benny right into a rickety old bookstore. "Oof!" he gasped, landing in a heap. "Mr. Crumbs, well hello there, Sonny. Looking for a good scare?" Mr. Crumbs's bookstore was full of dusty tomes and strange trinkets. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and mystery, a place where every corner seemed to whisper secrets of the past. Benny, still hiccuping from his earlier fright, wandered through the aisles, his fingers trailing along the spines of ancient-looking books. Each touch sent a shiver down his spine, as if the books themselves were alive with stories waiting to be told. He stopped. A peculiar book, bound in what looked like lizard skin, called out to him. Its cover seemed to pulse with an eerie energy, drawing him in with an almost magnetic pull. The ultimate guide to spooky specters, it proclaimed in shimmering gold letters. The title glowed with an otherworldly light, promising knowledge and power beyond Benny's wildest dreams. Intrigued, Benny picked it up. The book felt warm in his hands, almost as if it were alive, and he could feel a strange tingling sensation spreading through his fingers. "Mr. Crumbs, thinking of conjuring up some spectral visitors, are we?" His voice was a mix of amusement and caution, his eyes twinkling with a knowing look. "Be careful what you wish for." The warning hung in the air, heavy with unspoken consequences. That night, Benny couldn't resist. The allure of the book was too strong, its secrets too tempting to ignore. He snuck the book under his covers, his heart pounding with nervous excitement. The room was dark, save for the faint glow of his flashlight, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Ignoring the warning tingling in his fingers, he opened the book and began to read aloud. The words seemed to dance off the pages, filling the room with a strange, otherworldly light. As he read, he could feel the air around him grow colder, and the shadows seemed to come alive, moving and shifting with a life of their own. The room filled with an eerie green smoke, swirling and thickening with every passing second. It was as if the very air had turned into a ghostly mist, enveloping everything in its path. Benny coughed, waving his hands frantically in an attempt to clear the dense smoke. His eyes watered, and he could barely see a thing. When the smoke finally began to dissipate, 3 figures emerged, standing in his room. They shimmered like heat waves on a hot summer day. Ghosts. Benny's heart raced as he took in the sight.
"Greetings," said one of the ghosts, his voice echoing in the now clear room.
It was Sir Fluffleton, a portly ghost with a powdered wig and a monocle. He kept straightening his ghostly cravat, as if preparing for a grand ball.
"Charmed, I'm sure," he said with a bow, his monocle glinting in the dim light.
It giggled Madame Ghoulish, a wispy ghost draped in a pink feather boa. She fanned herself dramatically, her laughter echoing like a soft breeze, and a penchant for dramatic sighing. Every movement she made was theatrical, as if she were on a grand stage. And then there was Sparky, a mischievous little ghost with a grin that promised trouble. He had a bad habit of setting things harmlessly on fire, much to Benny's dismay. He was currently trying to juggle Benny's socks, which were now glowing red hot. The sight was both alarming and oddly entertaining. Benny's house was about to get a whole lot more interesting. With these ghostly guests, every day promised a new adventure, filled with hilarious havoc and spooky surprises. The ghost turned Benny's life upside down. Every day was a new adventure, or rather a new disaster. From the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed, Benny was surrounded by spectral shenanigans.
"I challenge you to a duel. Feather dusters at dawn." It was like living in a never-ending comedy show.
Sir Fluffleton kept trying to challenge Benny's dad to a duel with feather dusters. He was relentless, appearing at the most inconvenient times, always ready for a duel.
"Ooh, this lipstick is simply divine." Madame Ghoulish had a flair for the dramatic.
Madame Ghoulish kept borrowing Benny's mom's lipstick and leaving ghostly smooches on the mirror. Every morning, Benny's mom would find new lipstick marks, each more elaborate than the last. And Sparky? Well, Sparky was just a chaotic ball of spectral energy, forever leaving a trail of singed furniture and bewildered pets in his wake. No piece of furniture was safe from Sparky's fiery antics.
"I am Boo Boo the Terrifying. Mortals, tremble before me." Boo Boo tried his best to be menacing, but it never quite worked out.
Then came Boo Boo the Terrifying, the self-proclaimed leader of the spectral realm. He was supposed to be the scariest of them all. He was a hulking shadow with glowing red eyes, and he was not happy about some mortals messing with the spirit world. His presence was meant to instill fear, but when Boo Boo tried to roar, all that came out was a pathetic squeak. It was hard to take him seriously after that.
Squeak. Even the mice in the house seemed unimpressed.
Turns out, even terrifying ghosts get hiccups after a bad bowl of ectoplasm stew. Boo Boo's attempts at being scary were often thwarted by the most mundane things. In the end, Benny and his family learned to live with their ghostly housemates. They even found themselves laughing at the ghosts' antics. Life was never boring with Boo Boo and his gang around. Benny knew he had to do something. These ghosts were more hilarious than horrifying, but they were also wreaking havoc on his house and his parents' nerves. He decided to throw them a farewell party, a ghostly bash to end all bashes. There were floating snacks, phantom disco lights, and even a karaoke machine that belted out spooky tunes. As the party raged, Benny found himself laughing harder than he had in ages. And then, something strange happened. His hiccups stopped. Completely, it seemed all the excitement had scared the hiccups right out of him. With a final boo-hoo and a puff of green smoke, the ghosts were gone. Benny's house was back to normal, or as normal as it could be after a ghostly invasion. Life went on. Benny still hiccuped occasionally, but it wasn't so bad anymore. He had his memories and a few singed bookshelves to remind him of the time he accidentally threw a party for a bunch of mischievous ghosts. And sometimes late at night, he could swear he heard faint laughter echoing in the attic, along with a very dignified excuse me. Or is it just the beginning of something eerie? Only time and maybe a mischievous ghost or two will tell us.